The Hawaii Credit Union League would like to welcome you to Delivering on Experience, People, Product, Process, Technology. My name is Sandeep Kapoor, and I'm an educator with Digital Credence. The Hawaii Credit Union League would like to thank FIS for sponsoring this education. I want to step back and give you a little history as to how I did my research and what I did to put together this information. See, first of all, I am a real consumer. I'm a real business. I did research to find out what different brands offer, what financial institutions, both fintech and traditional, are doing for their consumers. I started with a wish list. I started with what I consider an aspirational stage. And I also backed it up by seeing what is delivered in today's marketplace. But the one thing that I'm very grateful for is the relationship I've had with many financial institutions. And I reached out to more than 1,400 executives and I asked them to assist me with a survey. My survey was broken up into three parts. Initially, I reached out with some generic questions. I soon followed up with more detail where people interacted and gave me that feedback. And finally, I did focus groups, not with all 1,400 plus, but with select people to try to find and drill deeper. What I'd like us to do is take a look at the types of questions I asked. And truly, these are the questions we need to think of as we host user groups, user panels. We do feedback surveys for the consumers that we serve. Number one is UX. What is your user experience? Rate your brand's current experience compared to what you consider to be an ideal state. My next question was around branding. Simply stated, how are you perceived as a brand? If I was to drop your financial institution's name in front of a consumer or a business, what would they say about you? Number three, you can't grow if you don't have financial stability. Yes, the camel ratings are important, but we also have to look at the core of our numbers. How are we doing? Number four, I talked about growth. What is being done to grow share of wallet? How are we doing there? Simple question. Are we growing real year over year? Are we using acquisition to become more efficient as far as our growth is concerned? Or are we focused on that consumer we serve? Are we doing more for them? How are we attracting new consumers? What are we doing to get these people? How is our growth? Are we satisfied with the returns we are getting on our investment? The branch strategy is extremely important because if nothing else, the branch is an expensive proposition, and I want to make sure that this expense is rational and the expense is driving the ROI I need from it. On digital and technology, there's a lot of I want to do this and I want to do that, but introspect on how capable we are to deliver on that. Security is very important. How confident are you in the information that is there within your organization? Are you confident it is correct? And are you confident in keeping it safe? People are extremely important. Remember, we are people serving people, and we cannot be successful unless we attract and retain talent. How are you doing there? And then, as far as competing with traditional financial institutions and fintech, where do we stand with that? Are we on par? I ask these questions of financial institution executives. You were very kind in giving me answers, and let me take you to the next step as to what we learned. The main concerns shared by different financial institutions was around number one, digital preparedness. And if you think about what the pandemic has done to our approach, we certainly do need to think about a digital first approach, or if nothing else, we need that emergency in terms of how do we take care of the consumer we serve via digital. What do we need to do there? And there's a lot of questions that were raised then as far as are we digitally prepared. Number two is, why are we not getting more than two, three, even four products per member that we serve? Why can we not enhance our share of wallet? Because ultimately that's going to drive long-term success. A couple of credit unions I communicated with shared some really good insight. A $4.2 billion institution decided to focus on the bird in hand, the member they served. And in 2019, they were able to organically add 468 million in assets to the existing base, and they got more business as well. But a lot of that came by focusing on the bird in hand. The second credit union I want to bring up actually did a remarkable job by focusing on 3,000 members. They were part of a control focus group. The idea was, how much more can we do for this group? Think about it, 3,000 members typically would translate to something between 25 million in assets, deposits, to something to the effect of 50 million. So between 25 and 50 million for 3,000 members. Do you know this financial institution did significantly more, upwards of 200 million. So the idea of not leaving business on the table is very important, but that was a challenge for most other folks. There were a lot of concerns about protecting information, protecting data, and providing the consumer the security that they expect and they deserve. And keep in mind, just like you see in this image, the consumer uses mobile for all their needs so much, and they also bank with us. When they do that, there's a lot of vulnerabilities as far as what type of software they install and what they leave open and closed. This is something we need to review. Technology capabilities, not just digital, but how everything works together, from our core system to our MCIF to our contact center platform to our card processing. There is so much data, there is so much insight, all of it needs to come together. We cannot afford to make mistakes of investing in technology that does not integrate, because we are looking at the advent of open banking, which is banking through open APIs. The role of the branch, again, I stress, came out to be very important. And a lot of anecdotal concerns were raised about, do we keep it open on the weekend? Could we shorten the number of hours? To what would people perceive our brand as? And extreme concerns like, is it simply going to be a giant billboard? This was important. People skills are vital. How do we develop people's skills? How do we cross train? Do we create that universal service associate? How much expertise do we put within the branch location? How do we assist the branch or the member contact center to serve members effectively with expertise? Do we use remote technologies to bring people in? These were all concerns that were shared. And of course, we know we are sitting on a lot of data. We need to leverage that data. We're missing out on a lot of automation because we have humans who are completing tasks that really are mundane and can be automated. And are we leveraging artificial intelligence beyond just coming up with things that are cool, where we talk to those home banking devices or those home service devices? Are we making it useful? These were the primary concerns that were shared. I'm going to continue with the concerns and highlight these 12 as critical things that were keeping the financial institution executive up at night. It was about the perception as a brand. How should they run, number two, a digital branch? Not a physical branch, but how do they equip? How do they serve remotely? How much human intervention do they put in to that digital branch? What does the credit union do to attract the right talent? What do we showcase? How do we offer a career path? What is that next step? Where should we invest to find new members? How do we invest online? Do we advertise by paper? Do we put up banners? This was a critical step, and it came down to the actual spend of that dollar. Number five was around, how can we do more with those we serve? This came up again and again as to enhancing share of wallet. How do we convince that consumer, even that indirect consumer, that we are more than just a place for the car loan from the dealer? How do we get them to come to us? How do we leverage technology more efficiently? I'll share an anecdotal example with you. A financial institution that is 2.4 billion in assets, which means they have a large enough technology department invested in a core that allows you to access data easily. They invested in a CRM that is used to manipulate and understand product and member data. They invested in a messaging platform that also had access to data. In addition to that, their contact center created a follow-up trigger application where data could be collected, and it reminded people as to follow up needed by a certain date or at a certain time. And they also, in addition to having these 4 stores of data, invested in a data warehouse. There is a lot of duplicity which results in inefficiency, and this is something that needs to be addressed. A big concern was around compliance. Can our concerns around compliance truly be understood by the regulators? It was really nice of the regulators to allow us to have online meetings given the current environment, but we have to continue with this progressiveness and also look at ways to eliminate that wet signature if we can identify who that person is. The economy was a big concern prior to the pandemic. The economy is a bigger concern after the pandemic. And we've also got to think about diversions, distractions, disasters like the pandemic as to what would our role be in the future. The branch strategy was important, the physical branch, as to how big it should be, how long it should be open, things along those lines. Security was extremely important as to protecting the information. Regarding words like artificial intelligence, big data, robotic process automation, RPA, the questions were simple. Okay, we hear these words a lot. We've also invested in these, and there are all these solution providers giving you solutions for these products and services. But what should we do? Ultimately, how do we build and deliver exceptional experiences and make sure that it is truly one-to-one and we are doing a good job every time we serve a consumer? The next two slides are around the key findings, and I want to talk about the 12 key factors that will drive our future, and I'll spend a little more time giving anecdotal examples as well. We've got to deliver on experiences that are intuitive, which means you don't need to ask someone at the credit union for help in how to fill out an application, how to complete a task. It has to be easy. It has to have more than just the information. If someone is saying, okay, I need this product, I need this product, I need this product, it's not one-on-one. You're selling a bundle. When you purchase a product from a retailer, the retailer sells you a complete solution, and that's what we've got to look at. Complete is the key word here in terms of what needs to happen. Yes, personalization is important, and it starts with that simple thing of remembering the consumer's preferences as to what their favorite transactions are. But the key here is if we can do it in real time versus later, that is what is going to drive value for us. Omni-channel journeys are an absolute must. The consumer should be able to start a journey in one channel and finish it in another channel. And another key element to remember here is personalization is not just for the web. And it's not just when the consumer picks up the phone and calls in because you've got caller ID or you have a way to authenticate them as they come through your IVR. It's not just there. It should also be in our physical channels outside of the consumer coming and talking to a member service representative who knows them. The ATM should recognize them. The ATM should recognize me that I speak English and I always take out $60. Next one was around how do you become the preferred financial institution? To become the PFI, we have to become more used by the consumer. We have to become top of wallet, which basically comes down and translates to we have to be part of the money movement strategy. Security is extremely important. We need the data done correctly. We have to protect against cyber attacks. We have to protect against family fraud, friendly fraud. The thing is, a lot of this comes through education, and that's important. Education starts not just with the members we serve, but also people who serve the members to make sure that they are being fair and correct in how they share this information and mentor others. Our data strategy should be pronounced and part of a long-term journey. Remember, you cannot take all your data and just put it into a warehouse and say, I'm ready. I'm now going to serve my consumer. It's an ongoing process, but the key part is how do we convince our organization to be part of a data-driven culture where we bank on data to make decisions and we use the human element to automate and do even more. Let's continue with the key findings. IT has to be a differentiator, And we've got to create a foundational information technology blueprint. Things have to work together. We need to make sure that everything we do is through open APIs, it's protected, and IT contributes to not just the technology strategy, but the business strategy, because that's what's going to drive our success. I mean, think about fintech. Fintech is able to rule and do so much as far as getting to market quickly, because all they do is they're quickly saying, let's develop an app and let's make the app available to do the following in terms of how we can serve a consumer. When we invest in our people, we don't just need to teach them products and services. We've got to teach them empathy, how to listen to converse. So many of the sales programs that are out there where we are trying to teach the member service representative to sell do not deliver on the fundamentals of listening. We put so much pressure on the member service representative to try to classify the person into an emotional intelligence category, etc. We take away the fun of having a conversation. Three simple rules to build empathy. Number one, go in with absolute confidence that you are capable of solving that member's problem. Number two, listen intently. Number three, based on what you've listened to, be prescriptive with a little bit of authority, telling the member that you've thought this through with their best interest in mind. Remember, if we want our members to adopt technology, we have to be that technology ambassador. We have to become that technology mentor. And we are simply not people who say, oh, you can find that product in aisle 9, or, oh, yes, we carry that particular product. We need to understand the economy, conversational economics, financial best practices. That's important. From a data perspective, from a consumer satisfaction, member satisfaction perspective, we have to start evaluating ROI, return on investment. And I don't say that it's only got to be about numbers. I have 5 ways to measure ROI. Number one, it could be cost. I'm reducing the cost. Number two, perhaps I'm driving revenue. Number three, it's about engagement. Number four, it could be about internal efficiency. And number five, it could be about compliance. Don't just look at numbers, look at the engagement element when you do this, but think in terms of coming up with lifetime value and get people to realize that if we can keep a performing, contributing member for a longer period of time, the lifetime value goes up significantly. Our focus has to be on building a stable, thriving financial institution, which means we've got to be efficient, we've got to grow, we've got to scale to serve. And yes, you can grow by doing more with the members that you have. The strategic planning process was also very insightful. Pretty much everybody I talked to said, oh, yes, we have this strategic planning process. We introspect, we research, we get together, we come up with a plan. But can you truly make it actionable? And that is what is important. I've taken time to actually put together a comprehensive way to evaluate the strategic planning process. And while I would certainly love the opportunity to come and visit with every one of you, you know that's not possible. I've put together 2 documents. You're absolutely welcome to leverage them with one little condition. You read my stuff and you give me your feedback. I mean, seriously, it's a simple starter document that says, if you're doing strategic planning, this is how you think big. Here's how you do a current benchmark. Here's how you drive the delta, and here's what you do. how you do more. And then what I did is I put it together for each department, each area. And once you read it, you'll start saying, oh, I can add to this, I can do more. You're welcome to that. Don't forget, finally, that our purpose, we've got to deliver on our purpose. That's why we are in this business. We are people serving people for a purpose. Karma is real. We've got to make sure that we do things in the best interest of the member we serve, because ultimately, this is what gets them to do more with us. This is what gets them to believe in us. And ultimately, it is trust that is going to drive our future as we take it further. I've talked about 12 key findings. I'm going to summarize these into 5 elements. Take a look at the box house in the middle. The branch is important, but through the branch, we're going to talk to our members about supporting multiple devices, multiple channels. My branch is my hub. My branch has my experts. My branch is where I serve you. I do a financial checkup. I bring you in once a year in person. I serve you once a year remotely. But you realize that through the branch, through a human, I'm actually teaching you to use the other channels. Remote deposit capture is one of the simple things we can teach, and that has got a very high return on investment. So the branch is our hub. But my goal is that when I serve my consumer, my member in the branch, I want to transform their experience across channels. Second key element for us to be focused and be a friend of that member, we've got to think of a comprehensive money movement strategy. We've got to help them all the way from bill payment, account to account, P2P, credit cards, debit cards, ACH, check. Everything needs to come together efficiently. We need to get the member to understand that if they want to move money, we can help them. There are different financial institutions that have had different terminology, but it essentially comes down to 3 or 4 elements. The 3 elements are that we are here to serve the depositors, the saver, the person who we've got products for that. We're here to serve the borrowers, people who take out loans from us. We are here to serve the transactor, the one with the wallet, the one on payments. We've got to put together a comprehensive payment strategy, realizing also that payments is not just the use of a debit card or a credit card, it's how you move money. And the more they move money with you, you get a chance to become top of mind and do more for that consumer. Big data is very important. It's a big deal. We've got to collect and use the information. It's got to be real time. And keep another thing in mind. What good is it to have information if we cannot access that information in a timely manner? AI, artificial intelligence, is going to be the conduit that simplifies us from performing mundane tasks. So we can do more and more for that member we serve. We can do things efficiently. And it shouldn't just be for the member. We need to start using AI internally. Perhaps it is for loan scoring, decisioning. It is for finding information, for verifying things. We've got to make sure this works correctly. Finally, everything I talk about above, which is that branch and the digital branch, creating that omni-channel experience, when you talk about payments and money movement, whether you talk about big data and all the information that we have, when you talk about artificial intelligence and things working together, you realize one very important element, which is that information technology should not just be a group of people who keep your applications running, but the IT group has to be strategic. They are the Sherpas, they are the guides, they should be at the business table, accelerating, providing, enhancing, enabling, and building that foundational digital strategy. And that is something that we absolutely have to strive towards. As I get close to completing this presentation, I know our goals are how do we create personalized, connected experiences? That's what we are doing. We've got our channels, which is assisted service from the contact center or the branch, anytime self-service delivered via the telephone, perhaps through AI, through a kiosk, or through the ATM, and anytime, anywhere self-service delivered via the phone, online, and the mobile device. In the case of assisted service, remember, our goal is to empower the people who serve our members. In the area of anytime self-service, what we are doing is trying to make it interactive and easy so the member can do not just the simple transactions, but they can do more in terms of how they serve themselves. And finally, think about anytime, anywhere self-service. We've got to make this easy by making things digital first, perhaps digital only, for the empowered consumer on the go. Whatever we do, think in terms of doing this well in a coordinated manner so we can watch that consumer as that member goes across all of our channels. I've done one more thing in this presentation, which is I've put a white paper together. I know you've been part, perhaps you've listened to the first four presentations that I've put together. This is the fifth one. And what I have done is I have summarized this presentation and a lot of insight into a document, a white paper. I call it Your Financial Institution Beyond 2020, the top 7 drivers of success. You're welcome to email me and I'll send this out to you. But what I'm also going to do is if you would like that strategic planning guide, let me know. I'll add that. The third aspect I want you to think about is the summary that I talked about that helped me build today's presentation. I've published it as an article on CU Insight. I'll send you that link, but I can also send you a slightly longer document that has some of those strategic findings. I enjoy what I do. I educate. I've always told people that we all have two lives. The second one begins when you realize you only have one. I don't know what your passion is. My passion is learning. My passion is educating. My passion is sharing. Whatever you do, I wish you success. Serve with passion, and we can do more for those we serve. My sincerest appreciation to both the Hawaii Credit Union League for bringing all of us together and to FIS for sponsoring this education.